If you were to ask me today to list the most satisfying accomplishment of my last 20 years of leadership, near the very top would be the transforming of our culture. My only regret, and it's a deep one, is that it took me decades to understand the critical importance of all this. And so many people under my leadership paid such a heavy price for my dim-wittedness along the way. Leaders, I'm asking you to learn from my mistakes. Don't make your people pay because you're so fired up about the vision. Don't get so addicted to vision achievement that the people around you start feeling like equipment, expendable, replaceable, or God forbid, like grunts. And right now, if you already feel God tapping you on the shoulder saying, this is for you, just agree with God and say, I'm listening, God. I'm listening. I'll keep my mind and my heart open. And if you're wondering what practical steps are required to turn a culture around, what practical steps are necessary to set the spirit of your team on fire in a good way, let me briefly mention 5 key commitments that we made that were enormously beneficial for us. The first commitment was to use an outside objective firm to run the engagement survey and help us interpret the results. We used an outfit called the Best Christian Workplace. Now, I suppose we could have put a survey together on our own and tried to figure it out all by ourselves. I'm very grateful, however, for our decision to use an outside firm with a lot of experience and proven methodology. They were able to benchmark our engagement levels against other organizations of our nature and size. It's been extremely helpful. The second key commitment we made was for me and my entire executive team to really own this turnaround. Had I simply delegated the culture challenge to the HR department, it would have been doomed from day one. I want to repeat a quote that I gave you last year. Your culture will only ever be as healthy as the senior leader wants it to be. Your culture will only ever be as healthy as the senior leader wants it to be. Senior pastors, CEOs, there's nowhere to hide. You can't hide from this truth. Only you can bring about the resolve necessary to transform a culture. When my executive team saw my determination, when our HR department felt my engagement and empowerment in this challenge, we were halfway home. We didn't know it at the time, but we were halfway home. It'll be the same with you. The third key commitment that we made was to get real serious about training everyone on our staff who manages people. It should be illegal to allow certain people to manage other people. Illegal. And anyone in our current culture who's entrusted with people management responsibilities is mandatorily required to receive rigorous ongoing training to get better at it. Here's another quote from last year that I want to drive home again this year. People join organizations. They leave managers. There's a lot of people who look at an organization that has a white-hot vision, a white-hot purpose, and they go, I want to join that great cause. And then they find out who their supervisor is. Some time ago, I met with a man who recently quit his job from the Salvation Army, of all places, one of the world's great organizations, lofty values, a God-honoring vision to serve the marginalized in society. Such a fantastic organization. I said, why did you leave the Salvation Army? He answered by saying that his direct supervisor was a cold, uncaring control freak who systematically sucked the joy out of his daily life. I could just hear that sucking sound while he was telling me about it. But he wound up his little comment to me saying that he quit for soul preservation purposes. Trust me when I say that you will never reach your culture's full vitality potential until every people manager in your organization leads and loves well. And that requires rigorous and ongoing training. The fourth key commitment we made was to raise the level of candor in our twice-a-year performance reviews. Gang, trust me on this. Every single worker that shows up at every job site anywhere on planet Earth and puts in a full day's work, every worker secretly wants to know at the end of the day, how am I doing? How am I doing? Do you notice my work? Am I making a contribution? Am I adding value in any way? In my new view, it is cruel and unusual punishment not to answer those questions regularly. Remember what Jack Welch said at the summit a few years ago? The kindest form of management is the truth. We recently added 3 words to our twice per year performance conversations. These 3 words: start, stop, continue. Michelle, you're doing great, but it's time for you to start looking for a number 2 person to build into. Your ministry's grown. You got to start building into a number 2 person. Michael, your people complain that your meetings are confusing, too long, and often boring. Michael, that's got to stop. Stop. You need to start maybe using the 3M approach that we talk about around Willow. Start the meeting by clarifying exactly what you're trying to move ahead. People got to know, what's this meeting about? What are we trying to move ahead? That's the first M. If you're trying to move something ahead and it isn't moving, then modify the plan. That's the second M. Change the conversation immediately to what has to be adjusted or tweaked to get the desired progress. Modify something. And Michael, never forget the third M, which is to motivate your people before the meeting ends. Don't let people leave any meeting without you thanking them and blessing them and inspiring them. One of your key roles, Michael, as a people manager, is to foster an environment of inspiration. So Michael, repeat after me, 3M, move something ahead, modify what isn't working, motivate the team before they leave your office. The mental image that I carry, every time I end a meeting in my office, I have lots of meetings in my office. The mental image I say is, I want to motivate and inspire people at the end of meetings so that they would levitate out of my office. So they just go, that was a fun meeting, and Bill believes in me, and I can't wait till the next meeting. So start, stop, and then that third word, continue. This is the time where we pour some praise out on our people. Lisa, continue calling the best out of your people, because often people won't give their best unless the leader challenges them to do so. And you're challenging people to give their best. So Lisa, you're doing great at that. Continue. Paul, your team knows that you treasure them. They feel valued and believed in. They would follow you anywhere. Way to go. Continue leading like that. Gang, with these 3 words, the main point is specificity. You want to find the ways or the words that enable you to be so clear in your performance conversations that team members know exactly what you're talking about, exactly how they can improve, and they're fired up to get better. You know the mantra, everybody wins when a leader gets better. We expect all of our people managers to be getting better. The 5th key commitment we made was the toughest to make and will be the toughest for us to keep. And that is a ruthless commitment to resolving relational conflict regardless of how scary it feels. John Paul Lederach is a reconciliation expert who teaches at Notre Dame University. His book, Reconcile, reframes how to look at relational conflict whenever, wherever it occurs in your life. What if, he asks, what if we all looked at conflict as the opportunity to strengthen a relationship, as opposed to viewing it as the precursor to relational ruin? Would that change the way we approach conflict resolution? Gang, that question from Lederach's book, Reconcile, doubled my courage to move toward people with whom I'm having relational conflict as opposed to moving away from them. Viewing a relational rift as the very real opportunity to come to new levels of understanding the other person and the very real possibility of establishing deeper levels of trust once we work through the conflict has been a game changer for me. And we're trying to build that understanding and value into our culture. Again, the title of Letter Act's book is simply Reconcile. And with all the conflict in organizations, families, with all the conflict in our world these days, I wish half the world would read that book, Reconcile. So those are the 5 key commitments we made to turn our culture around.